knowing who I am, protecting my legacy, protecting my kids, that has been something that's very important to me. Yes, you can have the money, you can have the cars, but then you come home and you're not satisfied still. You come home, you don't want to come home, you don't want to be home, you don't want to be around people.
Welcome back to the Living a Rich Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Rich, and this podcast is more than just a series of conversations. It's a love letter to my younger self and to anyone seeking courage and empowerment within the layers of our shared experiences in the Black and Brown community. In our new series, I Choose Me, we are going to dive deep into transformative journeys of our incredible guests and who have bravely made the choice to put themselves first. Together, we'll unpack the conversations not discussed in the Black community. So, we're going to touch on those topics that we don't often comfortably want to talk about and embrace it and celebrate the power of self love, resilience, and authenticity. So, join me as we amplify these vital stories shared by our guests so each of us can leave a richer legacy for the generations to come. And I'm super excited for my guest that I have here today. She has an amazing story to share about what she's doing in the community, her journey, how she chose herself, and how it has impacted her. Kenisha, thank you so much for being here with me today.
No problem. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited about our interview on tonight.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're gonna just jump right into it. And I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself. Who is Kenisha?
Okay. Who is Kenisha? Great question. I'm from South Florida, born and raised. In Deerfield Beach, Florida. I actually graduated from Deerfield Beach High School, where I continued my studies at Florida Atlantic University, later on receiving my master's from Nova Southeastern University. For years, I was in the banking and financial arena, but I decided that I wanted to move to education because that was something I was very passionate about, teaching and helping our youth learn about entrepreneurship. So eventually I did switch over to um, education, where I have been in the system now for 10 years. And I'm also a mother, I'm a business owner. So that's about myself.
Love it. Buck Pride, Deerfield Beach High School, um, being from South Florida. So thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. I always love to ask that question just to see, how people talk about who they are, what they identify with, who they identify with. And you did get to share a little bit about yourself and your journey. Um, but this podcast is truly about how you chose yourself. And when you and I had an opportunity to connect, you had a story of you having to choose yourself and being able to be a successful businesswoman from making those decisions. So, when you think about choosing yourself, what does that mean to you personally?
When I think about choosing myself, I think about who is going to be involved in that, which is only me. Of course, my kids, but sometimes you have to make decisions that will affect everyone. So, about 3, 4 years ago, I was in a marriage, and we went through some tough times. It was very toxic, and after going through what we went through, I decided to choose myself. I'll never forget this day. I was actually headed out to a conference in Atlanta, Unshakable Faith, and we had got into it, and they had to rush me to the hospital for the first time in my life. I had an anxiety attack, and I never knew that a person could have so much power over you until that day. So that day, laying in the emergency room, being taken there from the airport, that was exactly the day I chose myself, because I realized that my kids needed me and that my health was more important than anyone else. So that day was the day I chose myself.
Wow. So it was a health scare that became a pivotal moment in your life for you to choose yourself, and realize you want to be there for your children. When you think about that pivotal moment, did it change your perspective in general about making decisions about prioritizing yourself?
Yes, it did, because not knowing how much a person, like even though the divorce was final, of course it was still a sticky situation. We have a son that we have to raise together. Um, I did not know how much feelings I had into that situation until that day. So I had to think to myself, wow, what if at first when I was having this idea attack at the airport, I thought I was having a stroke. So I said it could have went another way. So, emotions, having those type of emotions leads to problems like the one I had, the anxiety attack, and it could have led to a heart attack. It could have led to a stroke. But I thank God that it didn't, and that I was able to overlook it. And then I did, after that, start my therapy process that helped me process to realize that those type of emotions can cause you to have anxiety attacks and other health scares.
Wow. So you have this scary moment that your health comes into play. It sounds like after that you realized that, there was some additional work that you wanted to do, which I'm a huge mental health advocate. So you went to therapy, thinking about, the Black community. Sometimes we're in a better place, but we're not quite there when it comes to embracing therapy. So for you, how did therapy change your life?
Well, first of all, I always tell people when you start therapy, you need to be honest with yourself and with your therapist. If you have the right therapist, they're not there to judge you. So knowing that, my therapist, she was very good. She told me that, so I was very open and honest. And then I was able to process everything that I was feeling, and she taught me and gave me tactics on how to get through those, even if it come up again. How do I process it? How do I make time for self, to not feel that way and just have some stress relievers? So uh, I'm an advocate, as well as if you need therapy, to go and get that therapy, seek that help. But first, remember that you must be honest with yourself and your therapist.
The honesty part is huge, because you hit the nail on the head about the progress and being in a space, of course, to be comfortable. But if you are not honest with yourself, and if you're not honest with your therapist, then you really can block the growth that you can get from therapy. So I love that you shared that, because I think it's so important for all of us to seek therapy. Just because you go to therapy doesn't mean necessarily something's wrong with you, right? But it's an opportunity to grow and to thrive and flourish and address some potential traumas that we all have, growing up and from our childhood, and become a better version of yourself. So you go through therapy, you divorce, you go through therapy, and you've come to this realization of, really putting yourself first. And you eventually establish a business, a tax business, which, you have a lot of people working for you. And you also, have an academy. So you're doing a lot of things, and you're still a mother. Juggling all of those things, how do you keep Kanisha at the forefront and prioritize yourself?
So it's very important. One thing I've learned is you have to schedule out your time. So on Sunday nights, I take time to schedule my days. And Wednesdays are actually my days off from the office, from other things. So thing I've decided to do on those Wednesdays, what are things that I want to do? What are things I like to do? So maybe I'll go get a massage, or maybe I'll go to dinner on my own and just decompress and disconnect. From the world, actually. Sometimes I might just go and sit at the park, read a book. I just learned to organize my time, because sometimes you get so busy that you get stressful. But I learned to Wednesday is my day. That's the day I choose for me. And then, of course, I also take Sundays, and Sundays is, of course, more of a family day. But that Wednesday, I take time out just for myself. And my favorite thing to do is get my massage. I gotta go get a massage. So I've learned to just prioritize my time, and to just make sure that I'm on point with organizing my time.
Love that you have 2 days. You have a one day that's just for you. It sounds like it's a lot of solo time.
Mhm.
you emphasize that massage, so making sure you get your massage in, but then you also talked about like almost like a solo date. And I think at times, sometimes we're afraid to date ourselves, whether you're in a relationship, you're married, whatever it is, to spend that solo time with yourself. So I love that you do that. And then you also have that, which we can consider self-care time too, with family, with loved ones on Sunday. So that is important, especially for you, being that, you have so many wonderful things going on and you're impacting the community. Do you ever at any point feel guilty about prioritizing yourself, having that Wednesday just for you? And if so, how did you overcome that?
At first, that was really hard. Like I felt I was being selfish. But I realized that my body needed it. I needed that break. I needed to decompress. Like I needed to take a break so that I won't be so stressful and won't seem like it's a lot. I just coached myself through it. Of course, it took some time. I'm not saying I did that overnight. It took a few months for me to adjust to it. I did realize that it was helping. So being that it was helping me, it was very important for me to just step away and make sure that Wednesday off on my calendar online, no one can schedule appointments off. And if clients do text me on that day, I'll respond, but I let them know we'll get back with them tomorrow, the next business day. So it was very important for me to realize that this is important health wise, for my sanity, that I needed to take this day.
So you mentioned not only having time for yourself, but I heard boundaries when you mentioned, you may have a client reach out and, you will get back with them during a business day and not your day. I think that is a huge accomplishment because that's a struggle for a lot of people, especially for women. So when it comes to boundaries in your personal and professional life, do you feel like you have a good handle on boundaries? And if you do, can you share any tips that you may implement in your life to be able to have healthy boundaries?
Glad you said that. Boundaries. That was something my therapist had to really get me to understand why boundaries were important. Because it was a lot of things that I would do or let people do or say to me, and it was unhealthy boundaries. And having unhealthy boundaries, it creates different things. Like it could create sickness, or you feel bad that you can't do it, so now you thinking you have to stretch yourself. So tips to create healthy boundaries is like, just if or if these are relationships, friendships, just explaining to people, hey, this is what it is. No disrespect, but this is the time I need for myself. It's just having those conversations with people and not being afraid. And that goes back to choosing yourself. Setting those healthy boundaries will help you stay on track with whatever you're trying to do for yourself. Or if you need that time, just letting people know this is what it is, this is what I'm going to do. And I ask that you guys please respect that. And if they love you like they say they do, they'll respect those boundaries and understand that some things had to change for you.
Mm. So I love that you said that they will respect that some things had to change. Along my journey, I know that relationships change based on my boundaries. And not to say I don't love people or I don't spend time with them, but access to me looks different. So I love that you highlighted that things have changed as you've gone through your journey, and it stemmed from therapy. A therapist will definitely help you realize that there may be some opportunities to implement boundaries in your life for that individual that may be struggling with prioritizing themselves in a place of setting boundaries and choosing themselves. Do you have any advice? Because it sounds like you've really been working on some things throughout your life to make yourself a priority. But do you have any advice for the individual who feels bad about it?
I have great advice. Learn to say no. I had to learn to say no because I realized I would be there for people, but when it was my turn, they were not there for me. So as I got older, I realized that. And like you said, that changed. Access to me had to change because why? If they don't reciprocate the same thing I'm giving out, I had to realize that, Kenisha, you have to put yourself first and realize that this is what it is. And I just, now it's like easier for me to say no, and not care about, sorry, not like offending anybody, not care about really, oh, they're gonna feel bad. I feel like people should understand. Yes, you may feel bad, but this is what it is. Just adjust to it and understand.
No is a complete sentence. No period. Doesn't require an explanation. So you have done the work, and you're on this journey. How have you how have you stayed authentic to yourself? Because of course you're growing, right? And there may be some changes in how you have relationships with others, communication, access, but how do you stay true to yourself despite some of the outside influences that we have in society? Because I feel like society tells us what we should do, how we should be, but how do you stay true to Kanisha?
I actually created a list. It's, I know it may sound weird, but a friends list, what I, the qualities I look for in a friend, what I require, and a list for if I get in a relationship. When I'm in a relationship, this is what I require. And I stick to it. What are my primary gains? What am I gaining from this friendship or relationship? And I won't settle. Like, I'm not compromising any of those things. If it can't be reciprocated, if they can't meet me where I am or what I need in those relationships or friendships, then I kind of just like back away from it and leave it there so that I won't go back into follow into what they want and not remembering what Kanisha wants.
Love that list idea. Never heard of it, but I think that is a great idea. You said not even just for a romantic partner, but friends, because sometimes we forget, you know, we can settle when it comes to friendships as well.
Yes.
Yeah. We can definitely settle, and it becomes an issue with choosing yourself and setting boundaries. So the list is a great idea. With that, have you, you know, implementing the list, have you noticed that it's helped you stay true and authentic to yourself, where you don't feel like sometimes there's a toggle between not being, you know, truly authentic to who you want to be and your desire?
Yes, I have. Let's just say in a relationship wise, dating in this world right now is not like it's not the best. So like sticking to that list has helped me like wean out like, okay, no, this person not for me. This not a good fit. We cool, but you're not the person for me. And like I feel that with me following that list, it helps me. And sometimes I just go back to my notes because I wrote it on my phone. Like, listen, you have to stick to it, Kanisha. I know back then I would probably be like, oh, I can probably fix them. And fixing people is, I feel like, is what got me into divorce court. So I'm very serious about what I want for Kanisha and what Kanisha needs so I can be true to myself. I don't want to have to change myself for someone. So making that list has kept me on track with being my authentic self.
That's good. So now that you are so in tune with yourself and what you want and your desires, and what I'm hearing is what you're worthy of, when you think about like success and happiness when you were younger and now, based on life experiences, in what ways have your definition of success and happiness evolved over time?
So some people may say, even when I was younger, I might think success is if you have a lot of money, you have a big house, you have a nice car. Of course, that's what everybody thinks success and happiness is. Lately, the last past 3 years, success and happiness to me is having peace, being one with myself, knowing who I am, protecting my legacy, protecting my kids. That has been something that's very important to me. Yes, you can have the money, you can have the cars, But then you come home and you're not satisfied still. You come home, you don't want to come home. You don't want to be home. You don't want to be around people. So that for me, that's what success is. Having a peace of mind and having peace within myself. That is something that I feel is success and happiness.
Being that you can articulate that speaks volumes because a lot of people don't get to that point, Kanisha. A lot of people are still living life defined based on success and happiness and what society told them, what our parents told us, the generation before, grandparents, and they're not able to separate that to what does truly success and happiness look like for themselves. So I think that speaks volumes to the work that you've done and putting yourself first. You spoke about peace, and peace is so important to me. So when you think about choosing yourself and peace specifically, how has that played a role in your journey and maintaining your peace?
If you see on social media, if you follow me, you'll probably see I always say anything disturbing my peace, I'm getting rid of it in 2025 or whatever year we're in. I'm sticking by that. Why? Because I feel if people don't respect your boundaries and they come in and they want to be toxic, or not even people, even with clients, I had to set boundaries with them. Like, they will say you did something and you know you didn't, and it started bothering me because you know you provide the best service, and then they're still saying something about like you did something wrong. It disturbs my peace. So I even started making boundaries with them at also. So protecting my peace is something that I've been working on and I'm going to continue to work on because this living in the world we're in with the inflation and everything, and you don't want to have to deal with too much. So protecting my peace is something that I'm very passionate about right now.
Yeah. If disturbing my peace is that's definitely a way to distance the relationship. But then also you having those boundaries within the workplace when you talked about clients and knowing when to put in some boundaries to protect your peace. So I hear that, self-care is super important to you and prioritizing yourself and your mental well-being. You have a lot of accomplishments. You've done a lot. You're a mother, but you're also a business owner. You have this academy where you're teaching others, and then you're doing other things in the community. Kanisha, do you celebrate yourself? And if so, how do you recognize your milestones along your journey?
So what I do, I set a goal. I set goals for myself, 3 to 6 months, 6 months to a year goals. How I celebrate it is I like to travel. So if I meet these goals, I pick a place and we travel to that place and I celebrate myself. Sometimes it can be small. I'll go get dinner at my favorite place if I met a small goal. Like today I wrote down my goals for the next 3 to 6 months. When I hit that, I'll figure out what I'm going to do. It's probably going to be a trip or maybe just something simple for now because I have a lot of major goals I'm trying to accomplish this year. But celebrating myself is something I like doing. I like traveling, so that's a gift I like to give myself because I do have to spend money for that. So if I got to spend money for it, I should be deserving of it.
Did you at any point struggle with celebrating yourself?
Yes, because with social media and all that comes with social media, I'm private, so I don't really like putting stuff on social media because people they say things or they might make comments like, "Oh, she thinks she's all that," or blah blah blah. So at first, I used to struggle with celebrating myself, or even like people be like, "I'm in the credit business," so they'll be like, "Oh, you need to post that." But I just used to be so afraid to do it because I didn't want to come off like I'm bragging. But now it's like it's not bragging; it's just letting know that I'm being successful and I made some achievements in life.
Good for you. I think most people struggle with that and they don't know how to get beyond others with your bragging or other people trying to humble them. But I think it's so important for us, especially when I think of Black women that I talk to in my community and I coach, they do not celebrate themselves.
Mhm.
And they even downplay when other people recognize them and celebrate them. So to hear that you have gotten to a place where you're intentional and you, even though you're setting goals, right? And you're like, this goal, even if it's a smaller, big goal or win, you're going to celebrate yourself because why not? Who's going to celebrate you more than yourself?
Right. No
So
one.
definitely love that. So I have to ask you because you mentioned social media, which social media is just so huge today in society, and it plays a huge role with influences. You talked about, you have this list in place to help you stay authentic to yourself. But a part of for me, choosing myself is staying grateful for the things that I have, but then also not getting caught up into the social media like spirit of comparison because it's so easy to do that when you see other people, whether they're in the same industry or they're doing something similar. It is sometimes easy to compare journeys, but with your success, how do you how do you keep yourself in this maybe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but how do you keep yourself grounded where maybe you express gratitude or you remember the things that you have and you've accomplished?
Well, I love that you said about the comparison thing because if you can see the tax industry is growing, you have hundreds of tax preparers, and sometimes you can feel that wow, they just started and it seems like they are way further than me. But then I have to remind myself that people can post anything. It can be the truth or it might not be the truth. And so I tell myself all of the time, like, I feel that God will take you where He wants you, and everyone's journey is gonna be different. It may take someone 5 years, it may take someone 10 years or 2 years. Everybody have a different path. Everybody have a different journey. So I always tell myself that, and I try not to get caught up with the social media. And I even congratulate other tax preparers. Oh, congratulations on opening your business. Let me know if you need any help. I just I've been always humbled in the business. If you come in the office and I'm working and some of the other preparers are in there, they'll be like, "Oh, that's the boss." I always laugh and say, "Don't do that," because I'm very humble. I just believe in being humble and taking it all in and just thanking, being grateful and thanking God for taking me to the places that He has taken me.
You have you said you have a lot of big goals this year. When you think about your goals, is prioritizing Kanisha included in that? Like, is that a part of your yearly goals that you set or your 3 to 6 month goals?
Yes, it is. It is. One of my goals is to make sure that I continue to put myself first and also just focus on those things that I want to accomplish in the next 3 to 6 months.
Well, definitely, just a lot of nuggets that you shared and thinking about the things that you're doing. And I highlight that the things that you're doing, and you talked about, your employees referring to you as the boss, because I think sometimes we struggle with realizing that although we have so many things going on and we have big goals and we're doing amazing things, you still can put yourself first. And you said that you're also a mother. So there's so many hats that you're wearing, but you still are making time to make yourself a priority. Is along your journey, when you think about like things that have inspired you, are there any people or resources that motivated you or inspired you along the way?
Yes, so I've been a part of something called Kingdom Snipers. It's a ministry by Evangelist Latrice Ryan. It's to equip people on, applying the word of God to their lives and also in their businesses, and just encouraging them to um grow in God with the strategies that she gives us. She gives us strategies not just in the spiritual realm, but also like how to get through things like for real. Like, she give us tips. That's where I got actually writing down everything. Schedule out your time, schedule out your days. So being in Kingdom Snipers has really opened my eyes to a lot of things spiritually, and it has helped me on my business growth journey as well.
So I hear in this, which I think is great, is you have community and support through this. And sometimes, I know along my journey, there are periods where I just felt alone, isolated, and struggling, trying to figure things out. And nobody else I felt like I could really like talk to about some of the challenges. And my therapist would remind me, you're not alone. Like don't think that way. And what I hear you saying is that you have this community and support that not only encourages you in the business area, but then also spiritually and having that trust and faith in God. So, you choosing yourself and the things that you desire in life, you made those decisions. But why was community important in that process? Because everyone, especially as adults, I hear people say, it's hard to make friends as adults. And that hasn't been my experience. But also, just having a strong community is also beneficial. So, for you, how has that played a part in supporting you and inspiring you or helping you realize your purpose?
I'm so glad you said that. So yes, I do agree. I felt like when I started becoming successful, my friend circles were changing so often, and I would feel that void. Like, well, God, why do people think I've changed because I've become successful? So when I saw this community and once I joined it and really saw what it was, it strengthened me. Why? Because now I have hundreds, maybe thousands of people that I can go to. Or, we have a group where people go in the chat. If you need prayer, you put it in there. And it's just having that. And I'm even in another smaller section of that Kingdom Snipers, which is called Team Implement. It's about 30 of us, and we have something called squads, and it's like six of us in squads. And just having someone pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm just checking in on you, you dropped in my spirit, that was something that I was missing. True genuine community friendships, um and that is helpful because I was tired of always being the strong person. So when got involved in this community, it really helped me grow and realize that there are some real and true genuine people in the world.
So we gotta replay just a little bit. So you said you were tired of being the strong person.
Yes.
And one, that's the word that I choose not to describe myself or like specifically the women in my life. I
Mhm.
don't want them to wear that title, that cape, because it brings so much pressure
Yes.
with that. So thinking about the word strong and making that realization, how has being the strong person negatively affected you in the past with, prioritizing yourself?
Well, it comes with, like you said, wearing that cape. So if I can't do it, I felt bad. Like, um, just like if I feel bad or I can't make it, I feel bad. So I had to realize that I don't have to be that person all the time. I had to just step back and look like, okay, Kanisha, sometimes you can't do it. Sometimes you can't be that person. Someone call and they want to talk about something that's weighing heavy. I'll be like, hey, today is not a good day. Maybe we can talk about it another day. It took some time, but I had to realize, like, yes, I don't want to be that person all of the time. Even with my sisters, I'm the youngest, but my mom always called me, and depended on me. So I just had to start again prioritizing Kanisha and saying, okay, we're gonna have to set boundaries. Those where their boundaries come back in again to say I'm prioritizing myself and I'm making sure that I'm okay.
I hear boundaries, and then also one of my favorite words is capacity. You knowing your capacity and that day, that phone call, what you did or did not have the capacity to take in which I think when you have that label of being the strong friend, the strong sibling, the strong child, or whatever it is, people tend to rely on you to be their unofficial therapist or a counselor or coach. And I don't think people realize how sometimes, because we are carrying so much on our own, it's hard to take on what they're sharing, because when you love people, whether it's a friend or romantic partner, sibling, family member, we carry some of that stuff. And it is good that you're aware of your capacity, so you can not only pour into yourself, but that's also going to help you pour into others. So, I asked you a lot, and I so appreciate you sharing just a little bit about yourself. Is there anything else about Kanisha that we did not get to hear when it comes to your journey of choosing yourself and what helped you get to where you are today?
I would say something I probably left out is actually making that step to take that journey. Making that step to make that phone call to a therapist or going through the intake process to get matched with a therapist. Just um doing that for me to see where it would take me. And I can tell you that it has taken me to a different level in life. Because now I know how to set boundaries. Now I know how to say no. Now I know how to look for what I want in a partner, what I want in a friendship, and just realizing these things and not being blinded to things that connect negatively impact me. I would That's one thing I would say. My journey wasn't perfect at first. It's still not perfect, but now I actually know what I want in life and how to control things around me.
Well, I have just one more question for you. This is my favorite question of the podcast. It has always been, but if you could have a conversation with your younger self, what would you tell her?
If I could have a conversation with my younger self, I would tell her to don't give up. Um, Prioritize yourself first. When you see red flags, take those red flags as a sign to run. And just to be yourself and don't be what society wants you to be. Be yourself and make sure that you're fulfilling what you want to do and what not fulfilling those things you think people want to see you do. Make sure you choose what you want to do.
Absolutely. And when you think about the next generation of you have children, is that, how do you instill that in them when it comes to success and happiness and not letting society define what that should be?
Even having I have one daughter, so I'm use her as an example. I always try to tell her that because I noticed that she's in middle school now. I noticed that she was always wanting and worried about having friends. So I always teach her to not kind of concentrate on that, right? Because I remember a lot of I met a lot of my friends in college. So I try to tell her like you'll have time for friendships. Just start focusing on yourself, making sure that you're okay. And, she even faced a little situation in school last year where the girls, were picking on her or whatever had happened. So I tried to instill in her that you are you and that you are whoever you say you are. And even for me being a teacher and an educator, I work with a lot of young females, and I always talk to them and let them know that you have to choose yourself first. Don't settle for less. And that's what I would tell anybody I come in. Don't settle for less. Just choose yourself.
Love it. Well, Kanisha, how can the people connect with you? You're doing different things. So, what are some of the socials or resources or websites that folks can connect with you?
You can reach me, of course, on Facebook at my name is Kenisha Latoya on there. I have an Instagram, it's lady 10 underscore CEO. Also, we have our website, etbusinesssolutions.com, where you can go out and see all of our products and services that we do offer. And that's about it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being a guest on the Leaving the Rich Legacy podcast. I hope that our viewers were inspired and motivated and encouraged to choose themselves, make themselves a priority, know that regardless of the many hats that we may wear, it is absolutely possible. And you also mentioned understand the red flags. Red flags can be in multiple areas in our life, romantic partners, friendships, family, but knowing when to step away and implement those boundaries to be able to prioritize yourself and your well being. So I appreciate you all tuning in. And until the next time, have a good day. Thank you.